Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to the Odds Breakers, playing the odds NASCAR style, an oval experience. I am your host, Paul Napier, and you can connect with me on Twitter at NASCAR Style Odds. This episode is being sponsored by 5dimes.eu. For a reduced juice bonus, please visit theoddsbreakers.com/5dimes and click on the banner to get better lines than the average sports books. This week we have a great show for you with info you need to know before making picks. This is episode 6 of the Oval Experience. Each week we will go into track facts, history, trends, and what to look for before placing bets. Celebrate good times, come on. If you followed my advice last week, you would have had a perfect race at the Roval. I have to celebrate this one for sure. This is just what we need to get back on track and finish strong in these final 7 races of the 2019 Monster Energy Cup Series. So, on to Dover. Dover is slowly beginning to become one of my favorites. It has been described as Bristol on steroids, and that it is. In fact, the corner entry speeds pushing 170 miles per hour and lap times under 25 seconds with these cup cars can surely get around this 1-mile track in a hurry. Dover International Speedway is located in, you guessed it, Dover, Delaware. It is also the home of the Dover Downs Hotel, Casino, and Racetrack. This complex houses the harness horse racing track, which is surrounded by the Dover International Speedway. This weekend's race is unique because race fans can wager on their favorite drivers at Dover International Speedway and the neighboring casino. Expected action will include odds on race winners as well as head-to-head matchups. Interestingly enough, Dover International Speedway says on their website that odds will likely not be available during practice sessions and qualifying rounds. This brings me to a point on picking drivers. You must look early at lines, as soon as sites such as 5dimes post them. Generally, this is when you will get the best odds without having any knowledge of race conditions, practice times, and starting spots. This is why it's critical to look at history and what drivers are hot or not, and if there's any trends that a driver might be heating up. Before we look at that, I want to look at the little history of the Monster Mile. Dover opened in 1969, and it's celebrating its 50-year birthday this year. And it has held at least 2 NASCAR races each year since then. From 1969 to 1995, Dover was an asphalt track. Wow, do I remember watching races on that old configuration, 500 laps. Actually, it was quite boring, and I think that's why my mind was made up. I did not really care for this track. It punished drivers for sure. In 1995, the track was resurfaced to concrete, and the last 500-miler was held in 1997. And in 1998, the season began the 400-mile race at the Monster Mile. Kind of off topic here, but just something to think about when picking drivers this weekend. These 4 drivers were eliminated during the round of 12. Amarola, Newman, Eric Jones, and Kurt Busch. Honestly, that last name really shocks me. So, who's been good at the Monster Mile? First off, you have to look at Chase Elliott. In 7 career races at Dover, he has 1 victory and 6 top 5s, with a low of 12th place finish. That's strong. Next, let's look at Martin Truex Jr. In his last 5 at the Monster, he has a victory and 4 top 5s. Next, let's look at Kyle Larson. In his 11 career starts, he has 5 top 5s and 8 top 10s. And finally, let's look at Daniel Suarez. I know, not a playoff driver, but in his last 7, in his 5 career races, he has an average finish of 7.6 with 1 top 5 and 4 top 10s. Suarez might be a guy that you seriously want to look at if you can find a matchup with another non-playoff driver. A few more guys to keep an eye on are, of course, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, and Kevin Harvick. All 3 have wins in the last 5 Dover races, as well as averaging an average finish of under 15. So, on the flip of that, guys you need to avoid. We only are looking at playoff drivers, remember. Let's start with Clint Bowyer. He has an average finish of 16.6 in his last 5 at the Monster. Alex Bowman has an average of 17.67 in his last 5. And the old YRB, young Ryan Blaney, has an average of 17.8 over that same time span. At the recording of this podcast on Tuesday evening, 5 Dimes has yet to release their head-to-head matchups for the week. So, to get this out, I have decided to release this podcast without the free pick this week. Make sure you are following me on Twitter at NASCAR Style Odds to ensure you will have the latest info from me when I release this week's free picks in a concise and quick read of an article. Real quick, if you've checked out the odds on 5 Dimes to win the Monster Energy Cup, you will see that Kyle Larson's stock continues to rise. It's right now at plus 550, while Denny Hamlin is falling a bit at plus 1200. Just something to look at and analyze in the meantime before the head-to-head matchups are put out. Looking at these can also determine favorites in the head-to-head matchups. One more observation of this race, and it might go into picking another head-to-head matchup for you this week, is this is a racer's track. You have to be up on the wheel for 400 laps, as well as during the restarts. This is a very exciting and yet nerve-wracking race for the drivers. So let's see who will be able to win and punch their ticket to the round of 8. Want more free picks for this week's race? Actually, you want a free pick for this week's race. Visit theoddsbreakers.com and click on the link for this week's race. If you like what you heard, shoot me a message on Twitter at NASCAR Style Odds. Hey, even if you don't like it, let me know what I can improve on. Constructive feedback is welcome. Thank you for subscribing, downloading, and listening to Playing the Odds NASCAR Style. Until next week, keep researching, keep winning, and have fun.